Hey there, it's Larissa with Plum Diddle, and today I am so excited to introduce to you our new Trio punch needle. We developed the Trio to be our ideal punch needle tool, and to be versatile enough that you can use it for any punch needle project you can think of. With the 3 included needle sizes, the Trio can be used with a huge variety of threads and yarns and fabrics, so it really makes it the ultimate punch needle tool. And it's going to make making all of those different punch needle projects so much simpler. So let's start by talking about the 3 different needle sizes. We have the mini, the midi, and the mighty. And those are going to be used for different threads and different types of fabrics. This is our chart that tells you the differences between the needles, and we'll go through it now. It is also available in your instructions if you ever need to refer to it. So starting with the mini needle. The mini needle is 1.6 millimeters wide, and it is our smallest needle. It's designed to be used with embroidery floss, but you can also use other kinds of thread. Basically any thread will work. So thin crochet cotton or very, very, very fine yarn, or you can even use sewing thread. And this is the size of needle that we recommend to use with the Plum Diddle floss punch kits. For fabric, you have a lot of options when it comes to the mini needle. Our standard is weaver's cloth. That's what's in all of our floss punch kits. But you can also use any kind of woven fabric. So that would be like denim, canvas, linen. Any of those will work. And when you are using your mini needle, you'll want to make sure that your needle length is adjusted to 2 centimeters or longer. We'll talk about what that means later. And you'll also want to make sure that you are making your stitches 2 millimeters apart around. And moving on to the midi needle. The midi needle is 3.5 millimeters wide, and it is designed to be used from lightweight yarn to medium weight yarn. Those have a lot of different names. Sometimes they're called number 3, sometimes they're called 3-ply. If you check the back of the yarn package, it will tell you what size it is. For fabrics, you're a little bit more limited with the midi than you are with the midi, but you still have a lot of options. So you can use weaver's cloth, just like with the mini. You can also use monk's cloth, burlap, and some other types of loosely woven fabrics. And you'll want to make sure your needle on the midi is adjusted to at least 3 centimeters long. You'll also want to make sure your stitches are 4 millimeters apart. And that sounds a little more complicated than it really is. It's more of a guideline. You don't have to follow it exactly. And last but not least, we have our mighty needle. The mighty needle is 5 millimeters wide. It is our largest needle, and it is designed to be used with from medium weight yarn to chunky weight yarn. This is a size that gives you that really cute, like tufted rug texture, and this is also the size that we recommend for use with our Plum Diddle yarn punch on monk's cloth kits. For fabric with the mighty needle, you're going to want to use monk's cloth most of the time. That's what we recommend the highest. There are also some other kinds of fabric that you can try. For example, a reinforced burlap, so burlap that has some kind of backing on it to make it stronger, usually does pretty well. And there are some other types of loose woven fabrics that you can try as well. You'll also want to make sure that your mighty needle is at least 4 centimeters long when you adjust it. And you'll also want to make sure that your stitches are about 5 millimeters apart from each other. And with that out of the way, let's get started with assembling the needle. To assemble the needle, you're going to unscrew the tightening collar from the handle and set it aside. Then you're going to take the needle you want to work with and the compression sleeve that's on the bottom here, and you're going to put that right into the slot in the handle. And then you can put that tightening collar right back on your needle. Before you tighten it, make sure that it is the right length using the ruler in your instructions, and then you can go ahead and tighten it until it's as tight as it will go. If you need to use pliers to make sure it's really secure, that is totally okay. And once you have your needle assembled, you can move on to threading. So to thread, you will want to take this long wire piece, it's the threader, and you will put that down through your needle starting at the metal end until you have a little loop poking out the bottom of the wood end. And then when you have that little loop, you can put a little end of yarn through it. And then you can pull the handle up so that the yarn comes all the way out of the needle. Once you have the yarn coming up through the needle, you'll also want it to go through this eye of the needle. So to do that, you'll take your threader again and you'll go through the eye of the needle, the round eye right here, starting at the outside of the needle. And then you'll put your yarn through that loop that you just made. Once again, you'll pull the handle so that the yarn follows it through and it's led out the eye of the needle. You'll know that your needle is completely threaded when you have your yarn traveling up through the entire length of the handle, up through the metal part, and out the eye of your needle. And once you have your needle threaded, you are ready to begin making stitches. There are a few things you need to keep in mind when you're making stitches. The first thing is that in order for your needle to work right, the yarn needs to be able to travel through it really loosely and freely. So just hold the needle like a pencil and let the yarn travel through it loosely. Make sure there's no tangles or anything coming up and that the yarn isn't getting caught on anything as you work. The next thing, there is a part on the needle that is an open oval right here. That is called the face of the needle. And the face of the needle, like the name would suggest, needs to face the direction you are working. So as you turn a corner, make sure that your face stays open towards the area you're about to stitch. You can turn your needle to do this, or you can turn the project in your hand. Then, when you're making your stitches, make sure you go all the way down until the handle and the fabric are touching. That's going to give you a really good stitch that's going to stay in. That's also how your stitches are going to look even. Last, when you bring your needle up, make sure the tip of that needle stays touching the fabric. You can actually scrape across the fabric before dragging and punching down to make your next stitch. You never want the needle to lose contact with the fabric. If at any point you're looking at your stitches and they're just not quite looking right, these are the 4 things to check for. So, is your yarn loose? Is your face facing the right direction? Are you punching all the way down? And are you staying close to the fabric when you come back up? If at any point you do mess up, it's really easy to undo your stitches just by pulling the yarn out and then just readjust the yarn in the needle, and then you can keep stitching. We recommend that you go around the outside edge of whatever shape you're starting with, and then you can spiral your stitches inwards to fill in the shape. When you're done with a certain color or with a certain shape, just pinch the fabric where your last stitch was and pull it away like this, and then just take your scissors and trim as close to the fabric as you can get it. That will ensure that nothing gets snapped. And there you have it. That is the Trio punch needle. I hope you guys have so much fun making your punch needle projects. Thank you for crafting with us, and happy making!